First of all, this demonstration has been arranged by Rottenberg and also in partnership with we are part of the largest professional martial art organisation in the world, which is the European Channel Organisation, of which we teach many of the weapon side for this organisation. So, to introduce us, this is Master Billman, who is the Chief Instructor for Europe of our weapon system, Latosa Escrima.
Well done, Bill.
This is Steve Kinpeak, who's been doing martial arts and teaching in England for over 20 years, and it's part of our organisation. I shall leave Jonathan to introduce himself in a moment. I'm Steve Tapping, and I've been doing martial arts since 1972, and I'm also part of the organisation. The demonstration is in two parts. The first part being medieval weapons and techniques, and the second part being a more modern version towards police forces of modern day. And that's to show the relevance of understanding what our past masters done to today's society. I'll hand you over now to John.
Good afternoon. I make my living 5 days a week teaching combat, mainly at theatre schools in London. But I've always had an interest and a love of history and discovering how things work. I've been greatly aided in that by my father, John Waller, who is now head of interpretation at the Royal Armouries Museum, where they're carrying on an active programme of researching and interpreting historical methods of wearing armour, riding horses and fighting with different kinds of weapons. When I say interpretation, I would like to describe or explain what I mean by interpretation. We're very lucky, certainly with 14th and 15th century combat techniques, in that we have the survival of a number of combat manuals that were written and illustrated in many cases by fight masters, mainly from Europe, mainly Germany and some from Italy. And so what we're going to do today, this afternoon, is show you some of the concepts and techniques that these fight masters taught and used and put down into their fight manuals. And then just to explain briefly the background of some of these fight masters. There are a number, as I say, we have at least 15 surviving copies of different fight manuals. We're going to be concentrating on mainly two of these fight masters. One Italian, Fiore de Libre, whose manuscript was written in 1409, and a German called Hans Talhofer, whose manuscripts were very popular and were actually reprinted a number of times from the 1440s onto the 1460s. These fight masters generally would make their day-to-day living from teaching wherever their services were required, be it in a village green or in a town square. But principally, they would always look to have the nobility for patronage and to use their skill of teaching the sons of dukes or noblemen, if they were very lucky, to royalty. And as I say, the Italian fight master, Fiore de Libre, dedicated his fight manual in 1409 to the D'Estes, who were the lords of Ferrara at that time, again seeking royal patronage for his work. Although these fight masters taught many techniques, including wrestling, fighting with poleaxes, with knives, on horseback, occasionally armoured combat, but also unarmoured combat, which is obviously what we're going to be showing you today. The main weapon that they focused on in all of these fight manuals is the two-handed sword. Some of the manuals don't include the wrestling techniques, others have more wrestling techniques, but what is common to all the fight manuals and to all these fight masters is they taught the use of the two-handed sword, which was considered by many to be the chief knightly weapon, certainly in parts of Germany and Italy. So what we'd like to do now is just describe a few of the techniques that they taught, which are common to all these fight masters. Again, hopefully dispelling the myth that it was the strongest person with the heaviest sword that won the fight. Whereas a sort of fairly standardised series of techniques that we used, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of these across. The main thing they taught, or the main difference of what people might notice, is that when you compare it to modern day fencing fencers tend to move in a straight line, because modern day fencing is a sport. And what most of these masters taught you to move offline or move away from the direction of the attack. So for example, if Steve were to cut for my head, I would step away diagonally to open him up to an attack to be killed, thereby taking the force away from his blow by getting closer to it, but also deflecting the energy away from it. The principal part of the sword that they used obviously was the edge. And they dealt with a number of cutting blows, but also cuts and thrusts. That's not to say that they didn't use the other parts of the sword. And they would often, if they got in close, grab the sword blade, which although it was sharp, was not razor sharp and was not dangerous to the hand, providing you didn't slide your hand along the blade, so they could come in and use it like a bayonet. They could also use the pommel for its weight to strike blows, and also the cross guard to act like an axe or to hook it. However, the main concept or the idea behind the movements was not necessarily to kill your opponent, but to stop your opponent from killing you. And so to achieve that end, they would often employ disarming moves and also locking techniques that would incapacitate the opponent, but would not necessarily kill him. So for example, if Steve were to thrust at me, I can move out of the way, secure his sword with my left hand whilst threatening him with my sword. If he tries to pull it away, I've got the option to thrust, or I can keep him there and pull it out of his hand. If I were to attack Steve, he could put a lock on me, securing my arm, and that's rendering me incapable of actually hurting him. Again, without actually killing me. Let's go back on myself slightly. We'll now do a short interpretation, as it may have appeared during a training session, a series of movements which we have taken from these manuscripts and have interpreted in our way from the writings of these masters and into what they actually did. We will do it at a reasonable training pace, and then we will slow it down and break it down so that you hopefully can understand what we're doing a bit more clearly. Right, now to break it down. First of all, we assume two wards or guards, which are starting positions. They're not positions to be used purely defensively, but they're positions to launch attacks from.
So, I see Jonathan is vulnerable towards the stomach area, so I thrust to his midriff.
I offline first, taking myself away from the line of the attack, and defend myself to make sure. This opens up Steve's left leg to an attack, which I come round with a cut.
I take a step back to keep my legs safe. This exposes Jonathan's head, for which I then make my left attack.
Again, I offline and deflect his sword away from me, coming around, cutting for his neck.
I step back again to block, and I discard, which is moving the sword out of the way, to expose Jonathan's midriff again, and thrust.
I move away, deflect it, come back to Steve's head. He beats the sword away, and then we have an impasse. Neither of us have an advantage, so we back off and let's start again. Again, we like to show this again at a slightly faster speed, so now you've seen the moves at a slower speed, you might be able to understand it.
That was no good. Yeah, I think we should clap.
But certain attacks don't always lead into certain defences, and that isn't necessarily a set pattern. If Steve is to change his attack just slightly, by this time he's going to, instead of thrusting for my stomach, thrust to my leg, it will force me to move in different ways. We'd just like to show you that. And again, to break it down and hopefully convey the ideas.
So, this time, the first attack didn't work, I now go for his leg.
Because he's gone for my leg, I can't step across into it because he will probably still stab me, so I step away behind myself and deflect his sword. Again, cutting for his left leg.
I again take a step back to defend my leg. This again exposes Jonathan's head, for which I attack.
Because I've got more space this time, I can now step to my right to try a different kind of attack, but still cutting around for his neck.
I step back to defend myself. Missile again to move Jonathan's sword out of the way. This exposes his midriff to my attack.
Because I'm moving it now to my left, it causes me to do a backhanded slash across his stomach a live one once. Again, we have an impasse with others having the advantage. Right, then one more time again at a reasonable training speed, hopefully to make more sense. Slightly different series of movements, this time hopefully with Bill to show different parts of the sword being used, and the sword being used in a different way, not just with using the edge to cut with, or the point to thrust. So. And again, in a sensible slope speed, describe what we're actually doing.
Good.
Again, we both assume starting positions.
And
Good though.
Although I'm in a starting position which lends me most readily to do a thrust, I do the unexpected and use it to deliver a cut.
I immediately move out of the way, and Jonathan's head is exposed. Come in, aim for the head.
I offline to get away from the danger and to deflect his sword, and then cut from Bill's head.
Who also offlines and gets out of the way. I immediately, Jonathan's head is exposed, and I slash into his head.
Then I glissade his sword to try and tie him up and thrust him for his stump.
I offline, move it away, grasp the sword and not slide, and axe his head. It blocks and pull him off and thrust to his face.
So I step away, letting go of the sword so he doesn't pull me into it, and deflect his sword, his pommel away from me with my free left hand, again leaving his stomach open to a thrust.
I immediately offline, across here, glissade, over, smash to his throat.
I jump away, and again his stomach's a nice open target, so I come in with the thrust.
Offline, smashing to the throat with the pommel.
Right, and again, at a reasonable training speed,
What's reasonable?
we'll see.
We'll see.
Right, now we're going to change the weapons slightly. Steve and Bill are going to show uses of the sword and buckler. As you've seen, hopefully, as flexible and versatile as the two-handed sword was, it's not the thing you would be carrying about with you every day. It's going to get in the way hanging at your waist. However, the sword and buckler was. It gave you the defensive qualities of a shield, but taking up less space, be worn at the belt. The broadsword is a single-handed sword which can be carried far more easily. If this was considered to be a knightly weapon, then the sword and buckler, certainly in England, was the weapon combination of the common man, the soldier, the archer, and was often used on the street. You've probably all heard of the phrase, he's a swashbuckler. This comes from the use of this weapon. Medieval word, or a use of the word swash, was to swagger. And the men would wear their bucklers hanging over the hilts of their swords, and as they swaggered or swashed down the road, their bucklers would rattle against the sword, drawing attention to them. Again, as I say, it was a young man's weapon, so it's young men showing off.
I shouldn't really be doing this.
Consequently, they became known as swashbucklers.
They couldn't get any other mad people.
Right, Bill and Steve will now give you a short demonstration. Yeah. As you can see, because of its size and its construction, which is made out of metal, the buckler can be used defensively to deflect the opponent's sword, but also offensively to deliver powerful and devastating punches. Then Bill and Steve will go through the routine slowly, and I will describe what they're doing. Again, they both assume starting positions, holding the bucklers in front of them to restrict target areas on their own body. Steve thrusts for Bill's stomach, Bill moves offline, deflecting Steve's sword with the buckler, which in turn leaves Steve's stomach exposed to Bill's thrust. Steve offline, so deflects Bill's sword down, which has now opened Bill to an attack, so Steve comes in with a cut. Again, Bill deflects it using the buckler, opens Steve up to a cut, which forces Steve to block with both weapons to make sure. Steve thrusts, and again is deflected away from his body by Bill, who then thrusts, causing Steve to move at an unusual angle, but he has to because he's in danger. And then a punch comes in, which Bill stops with his buckler. Again, at a reasonable training speed, hopefully to make some sense of the...
So, taking our ancestors' way of fighting, their understanding of movement, their attitude, their intention, perhaps this swagger gave them confidence. We now want to put these lessons and find a way of using them in today's society. So, many policemen now are not allowed to do their job. They can no longer hit somebody who's hitting them. It's a very strange scenario that people can hurt each other and everybody else, and these people are sent to protect us, and they're not allowed to do their job. So with this in mind, we reintroduced buckler, so the policemen feel confident. It's non-threatening, it's not intimidating, but it inspires confidence. So we take these drills, this attitude, for the everyday policeman on the beat. We're not talking about riot control. What we've done is individual combat, single combat, training for single combat, and therefore we are thinking about the policeman who's walking on the beat, who could be attacked or have to go into a dangerous situation, be attacked by dogs, you can put the buckler out, be attacked by drug addicts, knives, sticks, whatever. We will go through these different scenarios in a moment when Master Bill's ready. But we are trying to make the best out of history. Pardon? Are you trying to tell me? So, we hope that you will see the relevance of our understanding of interpretation, not just to be historians or so we can wear tights, but also to actually put it into use, and also to show that really nothing changes that much. We can learn from the past if we understand it and think how they fought. So if a young man walked down with confidence to Spitalfield Market, to go to a competition or to see a duel, or just to walk down to meet his friends to have a drink, perhaps the policeman will have the same inspiration to go there as well.
Hi Steve. Excuse the lumpy legs, but I still got my tights on.
Oh dear.
Okay. So, again, this is not basically a European weapon. So, 15th century, about the same time as we're doing actually, but would have come from it's an Oriental agricultural tool originally. Been updated, modernised, becomes the Tonfa. Police PR26, PR24, PR24. American, German, European, now English, and we have to go there and teach them how to use them. They originally got these, I think they become fashion accessories to start with, because everybody was wearing them, they wanted them, they got them, they don't know what to do with them, so we go and teach them. Okay, so, originally this would have been very brutal, extremely brutal. So the first time I use it, I'll use it nastily. Steve, back away. Perhaps this way. Obviously, a modern policeman can't do that. He's not allowed to do that, and obviously he would be going for various targets, different targets to the body, usually shaded in various colours. Reds are out, greens are in, and if you're really, really in trouble, rainbows. Okay, so this time I'll calm him down. This won't get me locked up, it'll get him locked up. Yeah? This is slammed into here with enough weight. Because I'm using my body, I can control him how I want. If I really want to be nasty, I'll just put 100 kilos on it and then break it up. He's now mine. He's locked up. Okay? Might be a case that I want to control him even more. Now, if he resists any further, then that's his problem. Okay? Again, we're not fighting each other. It's a training routine. We're working. This is how I would teach people to do these particular things. I'll be nasty again, Mr. Nasty. Again, you see that we adopt very medieval methods. We're going straight back into full armour, straight into medieval pose, mode, thought. Very strange when you pick up weapons, there's generation jumps. You might just want to disarm this guy, and this would, even now, this is extremely painful for him. You can hear, if you listen very carefully, you can hear his bone. No, I won't. This guy's seriously locked up now. Okay. I might want to control him here, which won't get me into trouble because I'm a policeman now, and he's the bad guy, and I don't want him getting off because I've been too brutal, and me going to prison. So I'm going to hit him across the leg, and if he's really nasty, just give him a little dig in the ribs. Okay, so this, again, we can go through, I'll give you a few more, just for fun. So again, being quite brutal about this, going into the origins of this weapon, which again, listening to the last lecture, thank you very much, you might want to witness chivalry in 3 stages. This is the lack of it. There's the lack of it. This is the lack of it. This is going for the vital parts, get it over extremely quickly, extremely brutally. If we're going to go further up and say that policemen are chivalrous, then again, I'm going to come down here and give him the dead leg to end all dead legs. This is now paralysed. He's controlled. He's going nowhere. And lucky he's athletic. Otherwise, it would be very painful tomorrow. Bruises, torn ligaments, but I'm not in trouble. If I want to lock him off, I'm going to get the whole of my body behind this and attack him slightly here. Body weight again. He can't resist this. I'm too heavy for him. And even if he was big, there's nothing he can do. This is power against the joint. You can knock him off here. And then just take him away. Again, do something else. This is unbelievably painful. Again, going for these points here, if I slipped and went into the groin. One more.
You'll have to run the national level.
Come in a different way. If I thought that perhaps this guy's really going to stick something in me with this, and I've got the Tonfa, I'm going to start thinking sword again. So it's half quillen. Instead of having the 2 quillens and a sword, I'm going to go over here for my hand protection. So when he stabs me, I'm going to come across. Come off there, he comes off. This is not funny. I'm a pretty tough guy, I've been doing this for a long time. and I've been hit here in this region, in the liver, the kidneys, and you stand there and you're so tough and you're going, I'm not going to cry. And you cry. You can't help it. The tears come, the pain. I'm not finished, I'm going to hit them again. There's nothing you can do about this pain, this internal pain. If you hit the internal organs, any of the internal organs, they don't feel any pain, actually. But the things around them really good. Oh, fine. Slam into this here. Slam into this. Lock him up. Obviously, this guy is going nowhere except where I want him to go. So if this way, it's this way. If it's that way, it's that way. Okay? Good. Okay, now this. Hold up this way for me. Is a very modern variation of this. Okay, this is steel. Of course, these things are everywhere. There's not. If you go to Africa, they're made out of elephant hide. If you go to wherever, it makes no difference where you go in the world. These small shields, bucklers, we call them, are everywhere. This is the modern version. We're developing this at the moment. This has got quite a dense rubber shell which absorbs shock, and also anything that sticks in it will tend to grip instead of glancing off. It will tend to stick. And also, would you believe, there's an inner core, there's a disc of extremely modern plastic which will stop a .38 bullet at about 30 yards. It will stop. And it's surprising when people say, oh, this tiny little thing here. It's surprising how much your body you can get behind when somebody's shooting. Plus the fact that if you was in full body armour, if you was a modern riot policeman with body armour, then here, pistols, faces. We'll go through the various things. At the moment, this is quite wonderful because it's light, it's small, and there is something inside of us that jumps a few generations. So these are quite easier to use than Oriental weapons for English people. Well, I find so anyway. Here's them. Again, there's a tremendous force in this, and I'm being totally nice to it. If I hit with the edge of this would rip his arm to pieces. And of course, from here onwards, if he attacks further, it's absolutely no problem. And very difficult for me to be in trouble because I'm hitting with a shield. Which is, yes, what did you hit him with? I hit him with my shield. I'm not guilty. Okay, so, the secret of all shields and small weapons, shields, is always to be able to see your enemy. You never want to be blinded. No good him hitting me. Give me one. No good him. Totally blinded, gone into a totally defensive position, which means that all my energy is concentrated upon this guy's behind me. You have to be able to move body, and there's a serious amount of training in it because these things, all shields, really are not defensive. They should be offensive. So, I want to see him. Now I can see him. I can slam it into his leg, block him up. And I'm doing this with a shield. I don't need anything. All I need is this. You get something else. Notice I'm looking at him. You can't get into this position. If this goes wrong, then everything's gone wrong. And if he's hitting me again, and I'm smothering it here. Little big ump there. Another one of these not being nasty. He's mine. Again, coming in. down, and this weighs a kilo. This is a kilo, and the energy coming through the rim. These things here were so ugly and so brutal. That's why they call them swashbucklers. We don't have any of this. We're lucky. We have this problem, we can call the police, but they have to deal with it. So this sort of thing here, if I've only got this, then right, come on. Come on. And it's nice. But it's nice for me. It's not. It's okay for me. If I was fortunate enough to have this in my pocket as well, so I'm quite lightly armed, really, for a modern day man. If you look at the policemen on television now, you see them, they can hardly walk. They've got this big belt round them, and they look like they're going down a mine. They've got tonfas, guns, knives, everything. They're so weighed down. You don't really need that much. This would do nicely. This little piece here. Okay. You're still alive. But not for long. You can see everything goes into the old, the old medieval feeling that we're getting from this place is it comes through in the way we're the tears. And this is the line, the direct line from there to here. And just to remind you,
I have to close, I haven't really.
I'll just finish off with that little bit that we did before. And there we are. Thank you very much. As usual, I get all the praise, he does all the work. That's right. Jonathan Waller, Steve Tappin, Steve Kimby, Bill Newman. Thank you very much.
God, I hope they like your